The game called Cosmic Wimpout. And I'm going to show you at first the way we persisted the state of the app and how we implemented it. So we are persisting in this app a bunch of properties for first of all the dice values of the 10 dice in an array of devals, as well as the scores of both the player and the opponent, in that sense both players. Furthermore, we persist the turn number, the player numbers, and we have a tick timer that was supposed to be implemented for the multiplayer mode. Speaking about multiplayer, as you've seen in the beginning, there's the selection between multiplayer, like online multiplayer and local multiplayer. However, due to limitations of ThinkSpeak, we weren't able to actually implement this multiplayer mode. We had two different implementations. One was persisting just the dice values in ThinkSpeak in a channel. However, that was limited by the keeping track of the turn and keeping track of updates. And the second implementation was a utilization of all 8 channels over 3 different methods. This, however, also made things kind of work, but issues with GitHub and coding together, as well as the changes in the necessary tasks to be completed, as multiplayer was cut from that, we decided to not pursue that any further. Continuing, we're going to continue with the implementation of the dice and the rounding feature.
Hello, I'm Jason, and I did the coding for the random number generation behind rolling the dice and locking the values when rolling the dice so that the values are locked, the dice do not roll. So when you hit the roll the dice button, for loop here, this loop runs, it generates random numbers for the dice, and then loop that a couple dozen times for the dice rolling animation where you can see all the dice pictures changing. And then here, if dice 5 is a triangle, which is a special part of our dice game, Cosmic Wimpout, where the 5th dice gets turned into a wild card called the Flaming Sun. Hopefully that happens. Here we go. Right, so then I can make a selection for what I want the 5th dice to become, and I coded this drop-down menu as well. See, there we go. This is the picture of the flaming sun. You make the selection, and it becomes whatever you select it to become. And that happens here, where it figures out what are the possible values you can select with your wildcard, and then you make a selection. I also coded the gauge here that shows whose turn it is. You press end your turn, and then it switches to the other player's turn. Yeah, that's it for me.
This is Kenneth, and I did the calc score function. Um, so first it tests for the current player, and then it sets the round score to 0. Um, then it counts the different amount of dice in this for loop in the roll. um, this if statement checks for flaming suns, and then and if there is, then whatever the player chooses, that adds to that dice count. And then this while loop calculates the score uh, regarding to regarding the flashes, which are 3 in a row, and fright trains, which are 5 in a row of the same dice, um, with the corresponding values here. And then, yeah, for example, Flaming Sun. So it's 5, and then it gives you 35 because there's 30 right here from the 3, the flash of the triangles, and the 5, and then it also does the round score end score, where it has this score and it adds to the total.
So my name is Tiso, and the sound effect was for the end your button function. This starts right at the right bottom, way in the bottom. So if you check the sound, if you switch on when you start a game, you can click here. This function, this is connected to a toggle switch in the UI. If the player wants the sound during the game or not, they can turn this on, and it is off. Then the app just skip all the audio playback. Now inside the if block, the first thing I did was to define the path to the sound folder that we had, and for file together with the file path, full path, like this. The reason I do this was so that it always find the correct folder where the sound files are stored. Even if the apps got moved to another folder or laptop, it makes the path dynamic and more reliable here. Then I set up the first sound. I load the file called button.org using the audio read and then create the audio play object from it. So this is the one. I do the exact thing for the second sound effect, button2org, using new variable names, player2y. And finally, I play both sound effects one after the other using play and player2 here. This gives the user an audio cue that their turn has ended and it's their opponent's turn. Kind of like the sound you hear in the board games when you hit the button or finish your move. The two sounds add uh, some like entertaining stuff to the game. Without this, the game would feel just like just clicking a button and just waiting for your turn. This just add a little feature and effects to it. So this help make the app like more alive and responsive.